last episode, you saw us suffer an all day of sailing in squirrely winds just to make it the 17 miles around the point to the Murray River. We knew there was a storm coming, but as you can see from the satellite imagery, the Murray River is very shallow, shifting sand. We didn't have a lot of room to maneuver with our 8-foot keel, and we were very limited in our anchoring options. We had found a little fishing port, but the depths were only listed as between 4 and 6 feet at low tide, so we didn't want to risk it. So we anchored just outside of it. So this is where we are. We're at the southeastern tip of PEI. You saw from the wind information, however, there's very strong wind coming from the southwest tonight, and it'll be 40-50 knots of wind. What we did is we were in Woods Island the other day, where we kind of hid from some nastiness, and then yesterday we made a long and very painful, against the wind and current, jump around here into Murray Island, the Murray River. If you look at where we are now, the wind is going to come from this direction. It's going to be extremely strong. With all of the islands around here, we're pretty well protected. The bottom's shallow sand and silt. It's very soft, and it's a good, safe place to hole up. The problem is there's a tide, which means that the tide goes out to the ocean and comes in from the ocean. So if you can imagine sort of the flow of the river as it ebbs and flows. The problem is the flow of the river will go this way, left to right, but the severe winds are going to go this way from the bottom left side, which is the southwest side. So how do you anchor when your boat is going to be torn by currents and tides switching direction 180 degrees and then a 90-degree wind against that? So what we did, and ignore this, that's where we were last night. So this is what we ended up doing. We drove towards where the wind is going to come from and dropped the anchor. Then we backed off 30 feet more than we wanted to, dropped a stern anchor over here somewheres, then pulled 30 feet up towards the rock nut anchor. So now we're hanging between the two anchors. The rear anchor will stop us from swinging with the current too much. We'll be able to swing a little bit with the current. Unfortunately, that means we're going to be held sideways to the current. With our giant keel, that's a lot of drag on the boat. But when the wind picks up tonight at 30 and 40 knots, we will be held firm against the winds. So worst case, we might drag this way a little bit or this way a little bit. But with the winds coming from the bottom, from the south area, we'll hold. The stern anchor is going to move. The stern anchor will drag under enough force with the current, and it'll make our pendulum arc swing this way. So here's the problem that we have. We are on the edge of PEI. We want to jump across to Nova Scotia, and tonight there are severe winds coming. So this is tonight at 3 a.m. If you look at the legend, that color blue means 48 to 50 knots, between 40 and 50 knots of wind. That's pretty severe. So we needed a safe place to hide. So we chose the Murray River. However, it's going to be windy. We have a 16-pound stainless steel Bruce anchor that we use for our stern anchor. So what we do is we knot off the end of it onto the cleat on the opposite side of where we need it. We have slack as we bring it across to the other cleat, and then there it's looped off, and you can see going off behind us. So that's the direction that the winds are going to come from, and that's the direction. We're 130 feet in front of us and 20 feet of water. Our rock anchor is now grabbed into the bottom. So that's the direction of the wind. When the wind becomes severe and a very powerful force to contend with, our biggest concern is to resist that. The 1 or 2 knots of current from the tide in the river are not a threat or a danger to the boat. We have our usual anchor snubber, elastic anchor snubber going down to the U-bolt, and then when the tension increases too much, the chain goes tight, and then the chain takes up the rest of it. see the stern line was really catching a lot of weeds and grasses passing by. Amazingly, as forecast, the wind started to come up around dinner time. Friday, September 21st at 6:16 p.m. The winds are picking up just as expected and exactly on time. You don't see wind forecasts be accurate very often. There are storm watches on the local radio station we heard when we were walking. The winds are going to reach 80 to 100 kilometers an hour tonight. And if you remember all that stuff, WildChild is secured for the And so we hunkered down for the night. The sun set, the winds picked up, the storm arrived, it was nasty, we hardly slept. It was pretty scary actually to be at anchor in winds like that. Slapping against the baby stay all night. As the sun sets. The good news is, God bless Rockna, all hail the Rockna. It held, but the winds got really strong. Like, we hardly slept. I hardly slept. Michelle sleeps generally pretty well, but you know, when you're laying in bed, you know, and you hear the wind howling and your boat rocking and bucking, and then it hits 38 knots of wind or 40 knots of wind, just hammers on the boat in a gust, it wakes you up. Like, you alertly get up and you check your apps and you try to make sure that you're alright. Like, but the Rockna held and the stern anchor's still holding, and we're a bit sideways to the wind now because that Bruce anchor on the stern's holding like a champ. So we survived the nasty night, woke up on the boat, everything's okay, we're safe. Our adventure up to this point for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks had mostly been a solo adventure. We did it pretty hardcore, pretty by ourselves in pretty remote places, seldom stepping foot on shore. Generally, when we do have encounters with other people, we try not to film them or include them in the videos because it feels disrespectful to us. We want to respect their right to privacy. Maybe they don't choose to be internet stars. But we just can't skip over the story of Frank, because I think he is the most amazing, wonderful, fabulous human being I've ever met. And maybe it's no surprise that the most decent human being I've ever met in my life is an island boy, born and raised in PEI. Now let me roll back the page a little bit in the timeline here.
So we're walking.
So the day before the storm, we had gone to shore to go for a walk, explore around, and see if maybe we could find a corner store. Sometimes spending so much time isolated on the boat, it's good to stretch your legs and just go for a walk.
There you go. Yeah, it's a small town. It's
peaceful and quiet.
Yeah. There's no noise. So it's covered now, so the wind changed direction, so we moved the anchor to be ready for the nasty wind later tonight and tomorrow. So
we had parked our dinghy in the little fishing marina, went up Wharf Lane and made a left-hand turn down Cape Bear Road, walked along and just explored the island. We walked for about half an hour out to the beach where we could see the Northumberland Strait and have a look at Mother Nature's mood, turned around and headed back. We never found a convenience store to get any provisions. We were walking back down Cape Bear Lane, about to turn right into Wharf Lane, when this black pickup truck sort of pulled up to the corner and stopped. The man had his window rolled down and it was Frank. He asked us, "Are you the two from that sailboat out there? Do you need anything? Can I help you with anything?" And just like that, a local fisherman realizes there's probably 2 lost sailors on the island who maybe need some help. Born out of the goodness of his heart and his own internal generosity, without thinking twice about it, he just offers his help. And honestly, expecting nothing in return.
So we were walking and someone stopped in his truck. It was Phil McNeil. So nice gentleman, and was asking us if we need anything. Ride, because he was asking if we were the sailboat in the river right here. I said, yeah. Oh, do you need a ride? Do you need anything? So we need to fill up our propane tank. So we talked to him, said he's going to investigate where we can do that, and he's going to call us and we can have a ride to do that. So lovely people, nice people. So thank you, Frank. We appreciate that.
So that was on Friday afternoon. We finished our walk, took our dinghy back to the boat, rode out the nasty weather overnight, and called Frank the next morning. He said he'd found a place where we could fill our propane tank and offered us a ride, so we dinghied to shore to meet him.
Saturday morning, we're going shopping, fill up the propane tank. Frank was at a place that's lovely, great.
We were so humbled that this absolute stranger would take time out of his Saturday morning to drive us to fill the propane tank. We were so grateful. Little did we know that Frank would be a fabulous host, play tour guide, give us a tour around the island, take us out for lunch, bring us to a grocery store for provisions.
I mean, you'll see when we're going to Montague there, like, they'd walk across the road in front of you or anything to get a deal, you know. Mostly German. And they run into the other boat, and there was 2 fellas killed on it.
2 boats collided?
Yeah.
In what fog?
Clear that.
How does that happen?
Well, I can't answer that.
Human being doing what they do best, right?
Oh my God, look at this little sailboat on the right, honey.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous. A little full keel like that.
Yeah.
They brought her. Yeah, they brought her here. And then here's a big sailboat, look.
Oh yeah, you see the mast.
But I don't think he draws the water that you guys do.
Now we stop in a parking lot close to McDonald's. They have free Wi-Fi, so we took the time to download episode number 7, so that's from Montreal to 3 Rivers.
We take internet access wherever we can get it. Do you want to watch the meltdown video? Does PEI get like a lot of tourism?
Oh yeah, a lot of tourists.
Frank has the spirit of an angel. He dedicated a whole day to us, complete strangers. He helped us get internet access. He took us out for lunch and paid for it. He helped us buy groceries and paid for those too. Took us on a tour of a winery. Took us to see the lighthouse. We got to see the Buddhist monks having a yard sale on the island. He was a fabulous and kind human being. If you read my book about my kayak expedition, you'll know that I have this weird fascination with what I call the soul of humanity. Human beings can be so good and so bad. Sometimes, though, when you meet human beings that are just truly good, just fabulous human beings who are a fine example for the rest of us to follow, it really touches my soul. It really inspires me. And Frank, I seek to be more like you.
Good morning. So we're leaving Murray Point. We were here for a day and a half basically, and this is the sunrise. So yeah, we're leaving early because we want to cross. We have around 50 miles to do if we can get to the Nova Scotia where we want to be. That's the goal, 50 nautical miles. The first safe place will be 24 miles, nautical miles of course.